In this comparative study, I will analyze Wong Kar-wai's 1995 Chinese film Fallen Angels and Zhu Lucada's 1960 French film Breathless. This study of both films will explore how and with what effect the moral dilemma of criminality is expressed in crime dramas. Both Fallen Angels and Breathless are very artistically driven movies that choose to explore the crime drama genre in very nuanced ways. Through the use of stylized cinematography, sound, and creative world building, the ethics of a criminal lifestyle is challenged within these films. Fallen Angels follows the night of three city dwellers residing in a neo-noir version of Hong Kong. He Ki-woo narrates his life as he wanders the streets harassing people for money in order to support himself and his father financially. Wang Ki-ming, on the other hand, is a hitman who works alongside his former lover. His partner is played by Michelle Reese, and eventually she crosses paths with He Ki-woo later in the film once it's revealed that all their lives are connected in some way or another. Wang's cinematic portrayal of crime and violence itself resembles the approach that Gudaw's Breathless takes. The main character, Michelle, finds himself on the run from the police after being pulled over and shooting a cop. The movie follows him running around Paris, France, just out of reach from the authorities, while Patricia, his lover, slowly starts to realize his crimes and who he truly is. The crime genre primarily started with American directors telling stories of criminals dealing with immigration and street gangs in the early 20th century. Similar to the traditional crime genre, crime drama incorporates elements of violence, conflict between authority figures, and the psychology of criminals. What makes this genre different, however, is the emphasis on the emotional damage criminality presents, in addition to the physical destruction it may cause. The drama aspect focuses on the moral dilemmas faced by criminals as they navigate a life different from society's standards. This creates internal conflict within the characters as they reconcile with what is truly good and bad, right and wrong, and the most relevant to these films, love for one another and self-isolation. Wong Kar-wai's Fallen Angels explores these elements of criminality through the use of striking visuals and editing techniques. Wong's exaggerated framing, for example, uses extreme wide-angle lenses to make the city seem more distorted and isolating. As Wong says himself, you can create certain aesthetics with it because it gives you a sense like the people are actually very close, but visually they are very far away. Although this specific technique is not commonly seen in the crime drama genre, it still contributes to the unsettling tone developed in the film. The opening shots of Michelle Reese walking around a deserted train station feels isolating and strange. It's the use of wide-angle lenses that amplifies this feeling and establishes the loneliness of the city. The shaky handheld shots also add to the vulnerability of that scene and remain a consistent theme in the film. Wide shots of the characters under fluorescent green lighting makes the city feel cold and unforgiving. Considering Wong's perspective as an outsider to Hong Kong, when he moved there as a child, the city's loneliness can be attributed to his personal interpretation of the city. I still remember the first day we came to Hong Kong. This town is like so strange because the sound is different. It's a different ambience. This disconnect with the city and its people is communicated through the shaky shots and unconventional angles he chooses to use. Wong's use of cinematography is comparable to Jean-Luc Godard's French New Wave classic Breathless. Godard, holding true to the French New Wave style, uses mostly handheld shots that follow the character as if it's a documentary. The use of handheld cameras, as Dr. Darren Waldron, senior lecturer in film studies and drama at the University of Manchester, says, came to typify the new wave because it created a shaky, grainy aesthetic. A famous example is the scene on the Champs-Élysées in Breathless. That 3-minute-long scene stays on the characters as they engage in a casual back-and-forth dialogue. Because of the simplicity of the shot, as the audience we feel connected to the characters and involved in their lives. The driving scene at the beginning of the film also establishes a sense of closeness by filming the main character Michelle from the passenger seat in a medium close-up shot. In this scene, it cuts from clips of him in the road as he talks to himself casually, even looking into the camera at one point and breaking the fourth wall. The non-traditional jump cuts and handheld shots makes the scene feel real and vulnerable, similar to Wong's introduction to his characters. Filming the characters realistically by using diegetic sounds, natural lighting, and everyday clothing emphasizes the criminals' humanity, which helps us empathize with them over the course of the film. Along with the use of meaningful camera angles and natural camera movement to develop the character's relationship with crime, sound is a major component of the crime drama genre that contributes to the psyche of the character and the direction of the film. Traditionally, in crime films, diegetic sound is used to capture the city's soundscape, making the action more gripping and realistic. Alois Ross, a professor with the PhD in cinema studies from La Trobe University, writes, "Using sound rather than image to demonstrate the presence of crime in the city, Huston recognizes and augments the vital importance of sound in defining and experiencing the city." Her analysis of John Huston's popular crime film, The Asphalt Jungle, addresses the importance of using diegetic sounds in crime films when establishing grit and tension. Wong's Fallen Angels does this well by using the sound of buses, trains, and people to portray the constant movement of the city. In the scene where Wang Ki-ming is sitting on the bus talking to an old friend, there is no music and their conversation resembles a real one. Those scenes, usually with dialogue between characters, feel authentic and even introspective considering the narration present throughout the film. Hearing the characters' inner thoughts helps us understand their motives more than just viewing their actions on screen. This establishes the authentic direction Wang goes in to develop a more fleshed out version of his characters. Hearing the emptiness in Wang Ki-ming's voice helps us understand the toll killing has on him. This style contradicts with Gouda's use of reoccurring music that acts as a motif for danger throughout the French film Breathless. The simple, yet exciting melody played on the piano is similar to early film noir jazz-inspired soundtrack. Ernie Smith, 1988, recalls the use of jazz in cinema in addition to portraying crime and murder, also used to suggest a close mutual relationship with various forms of aberrant behavior and associated with the mad, the deranged, the psychopathic, and the plain eccentric. The music genre's rebellious reputation in America's cinema during the 1920s to 1960s translated to French films during the New Wave, a period when unconventional film techniques were encouraged and praised. Thus, the use of blaring trumpets and horns can be heard during fast-paced scenes and of course the iconic recurring theme whenever tensions rise. The theatrical soundtrack in Breathless also reflects the emotions of the characters more abstractly compared to Wong's use of direct narration in Fallen Angels. The music that does occur in Fallen Angels, however, resembles pop music in comparison to the traditionally eccentric jazz used in most noir films. The two distinct styles of sound production reflect the difference in time periods and tone of both films. The geographical context is also significant to the film's approach to criminality, such as the Chinese themes of close relationships and male bonding appearing in Wong's film Fallen Angels. This theme is tied to the Chinese culture and can be traced back to the Chinese ancient code of Yi that preaches honor. It's seen primarily through Han Ki-woo's relationship with his father and how his criminal lifestyle attempts to strengthen that bond. The emphasis on human connection contributes to the film's perception of criminal activity and the morals regarding it. On the contrary, Gouda's Breathless seeks to portray Michel's criminal activity as exciting and rebellious, similar to the nature of the French New Wave movement. During that time of filmmaking in France, directors seek to stray from traditional convention, a standard of filmmaking that French director and critic Francis Truffaut goes on to describe as the tradition of quality. Therefore, Gouda's theatrical ending to Breathless deviates from the ordinary and reestablishes the adventurous nature of Michel's criminal journey. In the final scene of the film, Michel is running away from the police as the music crescendos and the camera follows right behind him. The narcissistic, devious nature of Michel ends up getting him killed in the end. This differs from the more hopeful and abstract ending of Wong Kar-wai's Fallen Angels. It ends with Han Ki-woo and Michelle Reese's characters connecting with one another as they drive away into the daylight, in comparison to Wang Ki-ming, the assassin, who dies in the end, just like Michelle in Breathless. Jean-Luc Godard and Wong Kar-wai both explore themes of love, criminality, and loneliness in their crime drama films Breathless and Fallen Angels. However, Wong's realistic and solemn approach differs from the exciting theatrical depiction of crime told by Godard. The distinctive styles of both these directors are influenced by the Hong Kong New Wave and the French New Wave, both similar in style. These movements, along with the geographical cultural context, have greatly influenced the unique depiction of criminality in both these films. The depiction of the everyday anti-hero and the portrayal of a narcissistic criminal.